Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Lead podcast, where our intention is to develop the next generation of hospitality industry leaders. Laura, before we get into your introduction, I'd love for you to share with the audience what can they expect from giving us the next 25 to 30 minutes of their time.
All right, you want to listen to this. Stay tuned for the whole thing if you can, because we're going to be talking about the importance of showing up and networking and how fun it can be and how effective it can be in accomplishing your goals and growing in your career.
I love it. It's such a powerful conversation to have. Before we get into some of the questions that we've set up, Laura, I'd love just to learn the audience to learn a little bit about you. Tell us a little bit of your story, how you got here, the successes and all the curves as you made it to this point.
Okay, I'm a mom. It was Mother's Day yesterday, so shout
It
out to
looks
all the
like you
moms
did
out
well
there.
in the back,
I know,
Laura.
I love
Yes,
the
it's like it's a florist in here. My kids' friends are very generous with the flowers, and my kids too. So very grateful for that. But yeah, my entire career has been spent trying to help businesses grow. And I've spent a lot of my career in radio advertising sales way back when, before the pay for performance model of guest acquisition was invented. I was national sales manager at iHeartMedia Los Angeles. I used to have to say, hey, give me a bunch of money. I really hope I send you a customer, but neither of us will ever know. And that was really the proposition for traditional paid advertising. Thank goodness we've come a long way. And what I do now is show up for my restaurant clients and bring friends. And by friends, I mean 21 million expense account diners who are looking for great restaurants when they're traveling for official company business. They're dining in, they're taking out, they're ordering catering, and in some cases, booking private events.
Love it.
Wow. Laura, you have just, you're one of my favorite people to watch at any of the many trade shows that we go to. I'm not sure which of us goes to more of them, but watching you network and have such a presence inside of any of those environments, whether it's a private happy hour, it's a room full of thousands of people, you just always seem to stand out and radiate. And I think that that is something that is just so powerful. And it's not something that happens overnight. We're not always born with that type of a talent in being able to walk into any type of a room and immediately grab everybody's attention. And so when you think about just sort of your career path and going from the radio side of things, which is something that is so built on, like you said, trust me, this is going to work, and trust me, this is a good investment, to sort of, what you do now. How did you recognize early on how to sort of show up in a room and network, right? How did you show up and sort of decide, okay, this is how I'm going to meet people. This is how I'm going to be successful in my role. And what sort of sparked that early on for you to learn how to do that and the importance of it?
Thank you for the compliment. I appreciate that. I feel the exact same way about both of you, Kelly and Matt, and it's so much fun. I think a lot of it is you have to really enjoy and care about people and be genuinely interested in them. And that really is something I think that is a gift that you're born with, is a true sense of genuine curiosity in others and in wanting to help them. So, in arriving in any new environment, it's genuinely not about me. It's me getting to know you. How, tell me about you. How can I help you? Maybe who do I know that can help you? And when you approach it in that way, with no expectations of personal gain and 100% expectation of, hey, we both showed up at this event. I'm so happy that we're both here, because it's not that easy to get together physically like this. And, what can I do to potentially serve and be of value to you?
Yeah. And I think that that's something that, from a sales perspective, can be tricky, especially when you're early on in your career. And I've always thought that sales is about sort of, helping people. And so I love that you said that. And so when you think about like your first job and just getting started at the radio station, was there a leader that, kind of taught you got to get out there and you got to start networking, as early as possible? And, in the part two of my question on that is like, how do you explain the importance of that to leaders, of like, it starts with day one, or, was there somebody that inspired it? And then from there, how do you inspire that in your own sort of leadership?
That's such a good question. So yes, my first job in radio was with a radio station called K-Hip in Salinas, California. They had no quantifiable audience, so they didn't even subscribe
Okay.
to the Arbitron ratings. And my boss said, okay, Fridays, you're going to hit the phone. You're going to look at the yellow list, which is the yellow pages way back in the day,
Wow.
and set some appointments, and I'm like, hey, Ed, why is anyone going to want to meet with me? I have no idea what I'm doing. We have no quantifiable audience here at the radio station. Like this, how can I ask them to give me a meeting? And he said, Laura, they have to advertise with somebody to promote their business. Why not you? And that was enough, because I was like, really? People have to do this thing called, guest acquisition and advertising, and they're going to do it with somebody. Well, I want that somebody to be me. So I'm
Yeah.
going to make those calls.
And so when you think about leaders today, or anybody that's sort of just getting started in their career, whether it's in sales or it's leadership, it's smart, whatever role it may be, why is it important for them to get out and start networking early on?
I think a lot of it has to do with the reps. So I've been at this a really long time, 3 decades. I have embarrassed myself in so many countless ways. I could cringe thinking back to different meetings and all of the silly things I said and done, all of the over talking I did, all of the launching into a sales pitch when it was really just like a, nice to meet you. I mean, I've made every mistake more than once. So that's the reason to start now, is for anybody listening, just get comfortable having conversations with strangers. Ancient Chinese proverb says the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is today. Start getting those reps.
And I love just what you shared up front, which is so powerful for me, about showing up to a room naturally and being curious about the audience or the people in the room. I think it's something you do so brilliantly. I have to say this up front, but I've seen you at events, and as Kelly shared, you could literally see your energy from across the room.
Wow.
But it's that curiosity. And this is, you just experienced a little bit of a leadership masterclass, because Laura, you turned to Kelly when she was talking, and you did it with your body language. Your eyes went towards her, but this is what you do in a live room. So as you've got those reps, and as I have too, made those mistakes jumping into pitches, I think success leaves clues. And if you're a leader in the industry, you can look how Laura just interacted in this first 5 minutes and really took us down a journey. But just her whole presentation opens up to connection. And I think it's not done naturally. So I wanted to take a second to share that, if that's okay. But I wanted to tie in, as Kelly shared, at an early stage, we get into networking. And I hear a bunch of stuff online right now between personal brand and then the term networking. Can you tie that together? Like, talked a bit about what networking is, but how does personal brand fit within networking as well?
Taking it back to, how do you gain the confidence? If networking is showing up and starting a conversation with a stranger, and really in my mind, that is you having the confidence to be the one to open the conversation and get the reps doing that. And sometimes it's going to fall flat and it's going to be completely awkward. And Brene Brown has a phrase that she calls the FFT, the effing first time.
Yeah.
The first time we do anything, it's probably going to be horrible. You're going to be so uncomfortable, and you just have to kind of name it what it is, and kind of normalize that idea of, having your FFT on showing up at an event or striking up a conversation with a stranger in a coffee shop if you're not comfortable doing that. But to your question, Matt, related to personal branding and networking. So before you can have the confidence to strike up that conversation, you have to invest in yourself and getting a really strong foundation in your product or service. You have to be an absolute expert in it. Learn every single thing you can.
Yeah.
Learn everything you can about your customer's product or service, and everything you can about the competition. And when you become an expert in those 3 things, you will be unstoppable. So that's your personal brand. You are the expert in whatever it is that you're representing, your restaurant, your position as a leader, your city. I mean, whatever it is, you have to know your stuff cold. And and everybody knows this in public speaking, when you know your subject matter, you are so confident. If you don't know it, it's terrible. Your heart will start beating fast. You're, constantly thinking instead of thinking in advance instead of, staying present in the moment with the person you're speaking with. So that, to me, that's the foundation of building a personal brand, is know your stuff cold, believe in it, continue being a lifelong learner, invest in yourself. You must be an expert or you're not going to be able to add any value. And then that's the foundation of the personal brand. And then again, showing up to have those FFT awkward first conversations and start practicing it. And everyone else is equally, uncomfortable in the first time that they're showing up doing anything. So if you're the one willing to put yourself out there and break the ice and start the conversation in a really kind, non-threatening way, they will appreciate you because they didn't have to do it. And so that's how the knowing your stuff and building your personal brand, and then showing up for the networking, both in person and virtually. And we'll talk about that, I think, the virtual side of networking a little later.
You just tied something together for me, which I've never seen through that lens. And it goes back to James Clear book, Atomic Habits, that sustainable change starts with your identity. So you said, what are your personal brand? What I heard from you, and if you want to expand slightly, it's that identity of knowing your product, knowing your market. And that might be selling ideas above to you, selling ideas to your customers and guests. But once we do the research and we're comfortable, then we can go out and start to network that opportunity in an imperfect way, because we'll get better each time. Just tied that together so incredibly well for me. Was there any FFTs for you? So one, if we want to be a bit vulnerable here, do you have a memory you go back to an FFT where you're like, wow, like I've got tons, but I'd love to hear one of yours.
I have two. One was many years ago. I think my second sales job was selling custom ski boots for a company called Any Mountain in the Bay Area. And when I got my first paycheck, I said, are you kidding me? I get paid to do this, like to meet these fun skier people and go skiing. And I'm like, I wanted to give my check back. I could not believe how much fun I was having and getting paid. So myself and one of my other fledgling, ski department friends were invited to a dinner with Phil and Steve Mayer, who were Olympic skiers at the time. Again, completely dating myself. So it's at Squaw Valley. It's, I think it was at Plump Jack, this fancy restaurant. And we show up and sit down at the table, and it's all these executives and these two Olympic skiers. And then somebody comes over to us and goes, you guys, you're not really invited. We need to ask you to leave. And so we got up and we just kind of slinked out of the room, like, oops, So I think someone invited us that didn't have the authority to do so. But I'll tell you, like, if somebody invites me to something cool, I'm going. Yeah. And that's a lot of it, is saying yes. We are all invited to some things that feel like, I don't know if I should be there. Like, I don't know if I'm really, worthy of being in the room. Yes, you are. And they'll ask you to leave if you're not really invited. And that's not the end of the world either.
Love it.
And then the other one, oh, Kelly, please.
No, go ahead. No, I was jumping at, I was going to go on something else, but go ahead.
Okay, so then the other one was more recent, which I did a post on LinkedIn about this, but I was invited to a gift card show because what we do at Denova, the loyalty rebates, that is what gets our corporate clients to shift their spending to one restaurant instead of another one, is coded similarly to a gift card or a gift card promotion. So more and more frequently, I'm meeting people who run payment and gift card for restaurant brands. So I was invited to a gift card show, and I was like, this is, not really my wheelhouse, but, my client has invited me and I always say yes. So I went. So I was all ready to go. And my client messaged me and said, hey, I broke my arm. I'm not going to be able to go to the gift card show with you, but the people are so nice. They're going to completely take you under their wing. And I'm like, okay, I love a good networking event. I'm going to show up. And I read the theme, and it was Safari Western. It was at the Gaylord Texan. So I packed this leopard print sweater and a denim skirt and boots and a cowboy hat. And I showed up at the dinner. I was the only one that got the memo about the Safari Western.
Oh no.
I mean, the whole thing went downhill from there, you guys. So check out my LinkedIn if you want to see how horrible the whole thing went. I survived, and I'm still willing to try a new networking event or conference, even, all things considered.
Love it.
Gosh, and I mean, Laura, the confidence to be able to show up to an event like that. And while you blew it out of the park by showing up in a safari outfit, I think there's so many leaders out there that are, hesitant about even, potentially showing up to an industry event, or, looking for those networking opportunities, or, for those leaders out there that are like, how do I network? How do I get started? And I think you really nailed it right? The FFT, it's, you gotta do it. You gotta take the time to do it. For a leader that's trying to figure that out, what is step one? Committing to an event, I think, is step one of saying, I'm going to show up and I'm going to do this, but what comes next? And do you have a standard pickup line that you use of introducing yourself to people, or like, how do they get going on it?
Oh my goodness. Okay, so part of it.
Long word.
Yeah, no, that's a good one.
Icebreaker.
So I think doing your homework in advance is the absolute best way to feel some level of confidence that you're going to at least have an understanding of who might be there. So read everything. Like I said, that one gift card show, I did read the thing about the theme, and everyone was encouraged to dress up. I didn't know the culture was that nobody really dressed up. So, that's okay. And it was kind of a, icebreaker right there. Yeah. It's like, I don't normally dress like this, guys. And, but here we are in Texas, and it was very silly. But yes, back to the building the personal brand and becoming an expert. If you're going to go to an event, try to learn every single thing you can about it. Talk to whomever's putting it on. They usually have a contact. Call them. Who do you expect at this event? Some places will publish a list. Look the people up on LinkedIn. See if you find anybody interesting. And then you can say, oh my gosh, Kathleen Kelly, you hosted a wonderful Women in Catering event last week at the Food on Demand conference. There was someone I connected with in advance on LinkedIn, and she was so gracious to kind of spot me out just from seeing what I looked like on LinkedIn and come up and introduce herself. So whatever connections you can make in advance, that would be another great idea. But really, really try to invest in learning about your customers and your potential customers, or whomever you want to meet. And so that when you do get that chance, that you have as much, basic understanding of who they are as you can get.
And I think, what I love about that example that you just shared is that everybody in that room or in that environment is trying to network as well. Right. And so they may be looking for that camaraderie to say, like, help me out of this awkward situation, because I don't know what I'm doing either. Right. Like, and it sounds like that was a really natural sort of connection that you had with this other individual that, got invited to an event. Maybe she didn't bring her safari shirt, but it allows them to sort of feel comfort together and instantly share this type of a relationship from, a networking perspective. When you think about, networking opportunities, do you see, for leaders and others that are out there, aside from like formal events, right? If I'm sitting at home and I'm like, well, there's no events happening near me, right? I don't have a conference that I'm going to. I'm just, working really hard and that's it. How do you encourage somebody to be able to network in those types of environments?
I think there's another really great way that you can go if there aren't industry events near you, and that's creating your own type of lunch or coffee or happy hour event with for me, I'm a vendor that tries to help restaurants. So there are other vendors in my area that also work to provide solutions for restaurants. And there's a networking lunch that I attend in Orange County that happens about every other month. And, it's an hour drive, easy for me each way. it is so valuable because I get to know some of these other solution providers that are helping restaurants, and network with some of my peers. So that's one. And then, of course, the social media side. LinkedIn itself, no matter where you are, this is our virtual conference right here. We're able to put up video, comment, share, articles. There's so much that we can do on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
I love it. And one thing so I've heard so far is we want to say yes. We want to do our research. We want to really show up. And sometimes it's uncomfortable. And then find some of the opportunities. One thing I always love to do is find the resistance. So all of this, a lot of us know this and still don't do it. So maybe just for a second, think about the audience. What's in the way for some people that you've met in your network or you've supported, or even you've both overcome yourself when it comes to, I know I should go to that event. I know I should, create the little lunch and learn or coffee opportunity, but there's something in the way. What do you find in the way for some leaders, and how can they overcome it to really step into their networking and personal brand opportunity?
I'll start, and then Kelly, I'd love to hear your experience too. But I think a lot of it is just that initial sense of being embarrassed or vulnerable, especially on the LinkedIn networking thing, and especially with video. So Matt, you mentioned earlier Sean Walchef. He does a twice a week LinkedIn live networking called The Rising Tide for hospitality leaders. And his message is, nobody's coming to tell your story. You have a video production company in your hand right here. And you got to get comfortable with your smartphone storytelling. So, when you first go live or put up a video or whatever, you are going to be so embarrassed. You're going to be sure that, your friends and family and people from high school and everybody's going to think that you're trying to be an influencer, and who do you think you are? And, you will embarrass your kids or your family members. And that the message is, are they, paying your bills? Like, are they the ones that, that you need to impress? No, this is a very effective way of growing your business and just getting better. And I heard a quote that said, visibility is the currency of opportunity. And I really do believe that today more than ever.
Love it.
Gosh, when I think about that, it is 100%. And Laura, you know this, right? It's really easy to not do it. I think it's really easy to come up with an excuse. It's really easy to say you're too busy with work. It's really easy to say you don't have time in your schedule. But when you take a look at the calendar and you start mapping out the hours in the day, there is 30 minutes sitting there, and there is an extra hour. And so maybe it doesn't have to be committing to flying to Dallas on July 9th for the lead event that's coming up, but it could be something where you say, I'm going to carve out 30 minutes every day or every Wednesday where I'm going to go on LinkedIn and I'm going to put myself out there, whether it's with a video or it's just commenting on other people's posts, or I'm going to commit to, Wednesdays are my day to go out there and meet somebody new on the way home from work, or on the way to the restaurant. I know I need to stop at the bank and I'm going to introduce myself and hand out my business card. I think being intentional about it and actually putting the time on the calendar to make that commitment is what really makes a difference when it comes to either building that personal brand or committing to networking, or as we say for restaurants, right? It's getting yourself out and connecting in the local community. If it's not on the calendar and you don't have that hard deadline like you do with payroll or with ordering food or if it's not on the calendar and you don't have a deadline, it's really easy to not do it. So for me, you got to put time on the calendar to make it happen.
Yeah. No, I love that so much. And just there is such an opportunity in front of us, but we do all have those emotions that get in the way. But how do we focus and start? I always say, show me your calendar and I'll show you what you value. Is one of my quotes that I push people out at that little bit of time to, if it's 30 minutes a day. I saw Mel Robbins on Friday. She did a big event here in my city. And so she said 30 minutes a day is almost 5 weeks a year. That you could invest. You can fundamentally change your body, your mind, your life, your work, your network. If you just invest at 30 minutes a day, even if you did 10, was what she shared. but just that consistent impact. And I want to transition just at our last, because I want to give you both space and time to answer this critical last question. And Laura, we'll start with you, really focusing on this incredible opportunity in LinkedIn. There's a leader out there that maybe they have a profile, but they're not necessarily active. What is your advice? Or maybe they are active, but they want to go to the next level, like you both have. What should somebody do? What are the 1, 2, or 3 steps that you would recommend somebody take action on to leverage the power of LinkedIn?
I would say start with a professional headshot if you can. There are so many people on LinkedIn who don't even have a picture of themselves. It's just that shadowy, circle.
Yeah.
So whatever you can do to make yourself feel like you're an expert in your industry. So appearance matters. Obviously, kind of your headline, your speak in a voice that is speaking directly to the people that you want to help, and share some examples that demonstrate that you really are an expert. And that goes back to make sure you are an expert, right? So that you can tout these things on your, and if you're just starting out as a college person, or somebody that's earlier in their career, that is a really fun, everybody loves an underdog and a David and Goliath story. So you may not have 30 years or whatever experience doing this, but talk about the accomplishments that you have now and build in public. Allow people to kind of see you documenting and building what you're doing and what you care about and what's important to you. And people really will rally behind you. And everyone does want to see you succeed.
Love it.
And I think it's, again, committing to spending time on there, I think is important. But I'm not going to say there's not original content on LinkedIn, but what's important about that is you have the ability to look at any and all individuals who you may want to have as your mentor. And whether you tell them they're your mentor or not, you have the ability to look at their profile, look at how they carry themselves, look at how they've chosen to describe who they are as an individual. And you can use that as inspiration for building your own brand and your own story. If you like the way that, Laura does her headline, or that I've got emojis in my subject line, whatever it may be, all of that is out there for you to take, to learn, and to replicate in your own personal voice. But I think the most important thing is it is a network of individuals that are out there that have been where you are, that are growing, that are learning, that are leading. And it's your opportunity to surround yourself with them, to join their networks, to, even if they don't accept your connection, you can follow them and see what it is that they're posting, and using them as your inspiration for how you're going to be carrying yourself as a leader. So in a very active way, you're learning from these leaders without ever having met them before. And my favorite thing about LinkedIn is when you get to take that time to take it off LinkedIn and, like Laura said, meet them in a room, connect with them and say, hey, gosh, I saw your post about the safari shirt. Let me tell you about my story with it, right? And that is what is so beautiful, I think, about the space with LinkedIn, is that it's free networking all day long. It just depends on whether or not you're going to be using it.
Love it. I love all those tips. I get it. And I'm lucky enough we got into this little network from a group of people that work at LinkedIn. And here's something they shared they're not necessarily sharing fully publicly, but it's about the new LinkedIn algorithm. Whether you're putting content out or not, what they want is you to participate on the platform. They want you to be active. So even myself, who's got a lot of content, they don't love it. They want to see activity. They said 9 posts, comment on 9 posts, add 9 people. If you consistently do that, doesn't have to be every day. They're actually looking to avoid everyday posting content now. It'll slow down your post, but just if you're new, because it allows you to get exposure, and LinkedIn wants you to be on the platform. So if you're on the platform and participating, it will reward you in showing you visibility to people you might not have previously had access to. And I got a really cool story. My daughter broke her foot recently. And so I got her tickets to Post Malone for Christmas. So she's terrified. She got news of the doctor. The cast isn't going to be off. So on LinkedIn, I have a contact who runs the stadium where Post Malone is playing. So I reached out to him today. Said, can you help me out? Here's the power of LinkedIn. He said, sure. I got a box that night. Come bring your daughter to the box and come hang out with us for the night with the team. And I was like, and I haven't seen him in like 5-6 years. He's like, Matt, I'd love for you to come and be my guest. Just by having to reach out with a human to human story, not about business. I wasn't asking for anything. We've since exchanged a bunch of other things that have happened in the last 3 hours. You never know what's on the other side of a simple connection or a friend you haven't talked to in a live environment. But say yes, show up fully, FFTs, and put yourself out there. This is such a powerful conversation for future leaders. Kelly, what's your takeaway and what's next for us at LEAD?
I think my biggest takeaway is, as Laura said, showing up. And I think that starts with looking for those opportunities and committing to making that happen. And so I am asking everybody to show up in Dallas, July 9th. We are hosting another one of our in-person LEAD events. And you have got some of the most amazing industry experts that are in the room in the most informal way possible. When I describe the networking that happens inside of that room, the emotional stories that are shared, the personal victories, everything that happens inside of that room, it's truly, truly magical. And so I encourage everybody to come check it out. Dallas, July 9th. I will be there. Matt will be there. I'm pretty sure Laura's going to be there.
I'll be there.
And so we've got some amazing industry experts that you'll want to be able to meet in person, shake their hands, because as we said earlier, none of us have it scripted when it comes to these networking events, and everybody is showing up in that room for that first time, and it's your opportunity to do the exact same thing in the most hospitable space possible.
Love it. Well, I want to thank you so much for your leadership and for your experience sharing here today. And I hope we see some posts from our audience on LinkedIn, and hopefully some reach out to the three of us. I think all of us would be happy to help should somebody want to make a connection or have a conversation. Thanks again. I look forward to seeing you on the next LEAD podcast. Thanks, Laura. Thanks, Kelly.
Guys.
Thanks all.